Hey everyone, Micah here. I thought I'd take a little couple of moments here and go over how to shut off power, water, and gas in case of an emergency. I think it's something everybody ought to know how to do, and most of us do, or a lot of us do, I suppose, but um, it's something really everybody should know how. So come on, let's take a look. One of the first things that everybody ought to know is, well, how do you locate where your power comes in? In this case, we've got overhead power, so it makes it pretty easy to spot. The wires up on top are high voltage, usually around 12,000 volts, and they drop down to a transformer, which you can see on the pole that drops it down to around 120 volts per line. By simply following the lines back to the house and where they connect, you get a really good idea for where the panel is. Now that we know where the weatherhead is located, we generally can look straight down and find the panel. In this case, this is a electrical system that we've been working on. This particular house is under remodel. Also, there's a solar array and an inverter connected to this panel, which brings up some very important safety points. So let's go over that. So here with the panel opened up, you can see clearly it's a 200 amp panel. It's the largest breaker on the panel. And you can also see on the top these lines coming in. Those come right from the meter, from the pole to the meter, and then into this breaker. By shutting this off, you're disconnecting the house from the line. But that doesn't necessarily mean all the power's off. This house is equipped with solar, so you want to be really careful. See here it says caution, solar circuit. Over here again, down here on the bottom, there's all these warnings. Now if I just want to turn off the panels, I could do that here. I'm not going to turn it off because it's a sunny day and we're generating lots of power. Or I could go over back to the panel. I happen to know this panel because I've been working on it. There again is another warning if the cover was on. But looking down here at the bottom, I've got a single throw, double pole, 20 amp breaker right here. And if I shut that off, I've disconnected the inverter from the panel. So this is really important. Like I said, I've been working on this particular panel, so I know that this is the right breaker, and I will label it before we're all done with the project here. But it's real easy to miss something like that. And even if it's just moonshine out, it doesn't even have to be sunny. It could be a gray day. You really could zap the holy bejesus out of yourself. So please be careful. Make sure, double check that you've got all the power off. It's just throwing the main does not mean all the power's off. Now in this house, even though it's an older house, the feed is subterranean. So we can't just look up the pole and see where the power is coming in. But in this case, it comes in from the ground right here. And there's a smart meter. So Sometimes it just takes a little looking around. You can see that this used to be an aerial feed, and they simply deleted the metered main, probably kept the loads in the same place, but put a new panel here and upgraded. Now here we have a gas main, and I'm getting ready to run gas out to a garage that we're going to be installing in the backyard. So it's not connected to the system yet, and it's got a cap on the top. The valve, the most important part, and it's fairly easy to spot, but sometimes you have to look for it, is right here. And a wonderful thing about this kind of valve, this is a ball valve. So if you picture inside of the valve body, there's actually a ball, and the ball's got a hole in it, and the hole is perpendicular to this sort of tab on the end, so that when you turn this, or excuse me, the hole in the ball is parallel to this tab. When you turn this so that it's perpendicular to the body of the valve, you know that the gas is off. So basically, turning this tab 90 degrees is going to shut off your gas. Where water comes into a house, there's usually two different valves. The first one, closest to the ground, being this one here, this is a gate valve. And basically, there inside the valve body there is a gate, or like a shutter, that is connected to the threads on this valve right here, so that when you turn it, it follows the threads and closes like a gate. So there they call it a gate valve. And you turn it to the right, you're closing the valve. When you turn it to the left, you're opening the valve. But this isn't where the water actually comes onto your property. This is just the last valve between the house and the street. So let's take a look at the main. So here, out at the sidewalk, we've got what we call a Christie Box. And of course, next to it, there's a fire hydrant. So there again, it's kind of easy to spot. Not every house has a fire hydrant, obviously, but if you do have one there, chances are somewhere near it, you're going to find your Christie Box with your water main inside. Now I've got a T-handle here, and I'm just going to go in and lift this out. And inside, you can see we've got the meter. And if you look closely at the meter, you can see that there's a little triangle to the left of the needle. If that triangle is spinning or moving at all, then you know that water is being used. So right now, there's no water being used in the house. And down below, right here, we have again another ball valve. Now notice this little hole in the side of the ball valve. There's going to be another one of those on the other side. Now if you line up this hole with that hole, those are there because what they do is, if you don't pay your water bill, they line up those holes, which shuts off your water, and then they put a padlock in it. So if you line up those two holes by rotating this valve, you'll know that you have shut off your water. If you're looking for a leak, you may shut the water off at the house, leave this open, come over here and see if that triangle is spinning. If the triangle is spinning, you've got a leak between the house and the main. So here we have another Christie box. This one says sewer on it. There's not really a way to shut off your sewer from the street, or at least not one that's practical. I have no idea why you'd want to do that. That doesn't mean that there isn't a valve in here. So here I'll open this up and show you what I'm talking about. It's great having a T-bar around. Good tool for shutting off the water and lifting the lids off. So here, this is called a Contra Costa valve, or it's also called a backflow preventer. It's got a ball inside here, and that ball uses gravity to sit down on that ring, and it keeps sewer gases from coming up from the line. But if the line were ever to overflow from the street, it's going to overflow into this box instead of your house. Key being to have this box, obviously it's downstream of the house, or lower than the house plumbing. So if you don't have one of these, real good idea to get one installed. Could save a lot of trouble. So that's really, it. There's not a whole lot to it. I guess as I said, I think a lot of us that know certain things kind of take it for granted that everybody knows those things as well, and it's kind of silly. I suppose a doctor thinks that well, everybody knows how to set a bone fracture or something like that, but we don't. But it's really nice to be able to share the things we do know, and hopefully we can help each other. That's one of the great things about YouTube and sharing information. So I hope this helps you out. I think everybody ought to know how to do this stuff in an emergency. As I said, please be really, really careful when it comes to the power. That is no joke. Solar-tied electrical systems can be very dangerous because you think you're turning off the main. That doesn't mean the power's out. And don't assume that just because it's nighttime that you're not still able to get a jolt through there. So be safe out there, everyone, and thanks for watching. Hey, one last thing. If you've shut off your gas, don't just go and turn it back on without checking all of your pilots. Gas can be taken for granted easily, and most modern appliances these days are electronic ignition. So a lot of times, they basically, when you turn the gas back on, they don't just automatically start blowing gas. Just to, they actually have to ignite themselves. But you have to check that. If you just go turning your gas back on after you've shut it off, I don't care if you just shut it off for a second, all of a sudden, that you got an old-fashioned pilot somewhere like that, that's just going to keep pumping basically fuel out until it finds something to ignite. Be careful. All right, so check all of your pilots, know where they are, and I think in the next video I'll go over lighting some pilots. All right, again, be safe out there.